Testing. Hey, this is Matt, aka Adisyn, and today I am going to do a walkthrough of my track, Sending Light. So we started with the drums, layering some kicks. We're low passing this kick, using the highs of another kick, mono, some EQ. This is probably some type of tom loop we found. We made sure it was in the key of our song, which is G, so that worked out. This here is a shaker loop, I believe, that we like put a lot of effects on. Something like this, band passed it, used an LFO. We kind of made a cool texture like that. Some like bongo loop we chopped up. This is a loop that Nhii made on his computer, and we hard warped it to our tempo. This is another little texture perk that Nhii gave me. So we layered up these two different claps, and we're sending them to a reverb here. Just a reverb, a little bit of compressor. And then we have like 3 different shaker loops, each panned in a different direction. The next thing we went to was the bassline. And I love these types of basslines. They're super simple. I'll show you how we made the patch. So essentially all it is a simple FM patch. We start with a sine wave, and you see it's just 2 sine notes. And then what I'm doing is I'm modulating that sine wave by another sine wave an octave below. So as I increase the rate, you'll notice the sound starts to change harmonically. So I typically will level that in to taste. I think around negative 18 dBs we did for this track. And then we added a low pass filter with a decent amount of resonance, tiny bit of distortion. And it creates like a really nice tone, super classic deep house stuff. We EQ'd some frequencies out, some more mids out, a little bit of compression, and then we're side chaining it to our kick drum. And that's the basic idea of the track. Me and Nhii were kind of playing around with different drum elements, programming stuff, throwing loops together, chopping it up. Once we had this, we felt we had a foundation for the song, and then we started messing around with melodic elements. So let me dive into that. We had this cool like melody that's kind of playing throughout the whole track. So yeah, so this is like some contact mallet patch or something like that. These saw chords, all these chords, or I mean, synth patches were done with the Juno. So let me solo this guy real quick. I think the song's in G, so it's just like G minor. I'm gonna show you the little bit of magic that the synth has. It's just a saw wave. You can see the square and the other oscillators are turned down. Filter low, amplitude envelopes all the way up, and the filter envelope has just a sharp attack. Sharp decay. So we're sending the filters being modulated by envelope 1, and we have a little bit of velocity sensitivity, and I think that's where the magic comes from, because when you drop the velocity down, the sound gets more filtered, and when you raise it, the sound becomes less filtered, and you can hear it. And that's something I do a lot, just to give like my chord stubs more movement. I'm setting into a little bit of this replica delay and this bit crusher here, which is pretty cool, balancing the dry and wet signal. The wet signal is driven and high passed a bit. We got this little guy here. It's like some like lush 7th chord thing. This might have been a preset even. Saw wave. I think there's some pulse width modulation going on. Saw, and yeah, just kind of like a pluck synth. But I think the real magic comes from you add the delay and the reverb. It gives it that like special kind of spaciness to it. So on this, we are playing perfect fifths. But it's got like a really cool tone to it. And it took me a long time to figure out what the fuck this is, because I hear these in tracks all the time. So I mean, I knew it kind of had like a vintage analog feel to it, but it was hard for me to make it sound authentic. So when I started using the roll-in plugins, I was able to kind of get that sound. And It sounds high passed, but it's not high passed. I'm using a pulse wave, then I'm sending the pulse width modulation to manual, and I'm just cranking it up all the way, meaning the pulse width is as thin as can be, which is removing a lot of like low frequency, bassier frequencies. So it sounds high passed, but actually it's just a very thin waveform. And then we're just doing the same shit, you know, low filter modulated by envelope with like a plucky decay. And we got a high pad, we got a sustain pad going on. Probably just some pad preset in the Juno, but you know, we got a pretty cool like chord voicing going on here, kind of like dissonant. We got some of the half tone relationship going on, and etc. We got these little bits. These are like flute voice samples that Nhii had on his computer. So there's one more thing I want to cover, and that's going to be at the breakdown here. We have this like trippy vocal thing going on. It's like this Granular plugin that Nhii turned me on to. It's called Grand Scanner. It's a Max for Life device. And so you throw in an audio sample here, and then you can run it through the Granular engine. And so we just automated some parameters, and it sounds pretty cool when you like mess around with it. One more thing I wanted to show you is the way we create suspense in this build up. So we have these, the synths don't change that much, but we play with like the effects on the synth. So as the break is building, we're sending the synth more and more to a reverb, and it's a Valhalla vintage delay with like an enormous decay. And so that's just kind of building and building. And then right before the drop, we drop the filter all the way down. So we cut it dry. We just filter out all the reverb. So you can hear that here. That's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be posting more of these soon, just going through tracks I've produced and revealing some tips and tricks and whatnot. So hope you enjoyed it, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, peace.